So, okay, I think it's 5 past time. We should start.
Yeah.
So let's start
Yeah.
this webinar today. So I will put you all on mute now. So we will
Can you
keep
hear
the
it as well?
quality of the voice, of the sound. So I will share my webcam so you will be able to see me. So welcome everyone. So let me introduce myself. My name is Michał and I am part of the ProReal team. And today I will be moderating this webinar. I'm very excited today that is having this webinar, and I hope, cross fingers, for the technology to work today. And this is the second webinar, and we are happy to share with you all the latest research about compassion and virtual reality, and how this fit into the ProReal world. I'm happy you all join us today, and I can see some people are joining this time now. And you are representing a wide range of experiences in fields of health and personal development. In this cafe, in this virtual room today, we have therapists, we have clinicians, researchers, counselors, coaches, and managers. ProReal is being used by a wide range of professionals in various settings, and we are not here to recommend a specific model or technique, but we hope you will find this presented approach interesting today. So this is very important for us. Please keep all the information from that session confidential. And as well, we are recording this webinar to make it available. Part of the webinar or whole, we will decide later about this. And the client today will have the final decision here for this. If you are not feeling right to record, you can drop out the webinar. So let me tell you about the agenda for the webinar today. We will start with some introduction to the compassion and virtual reality and how it fits to the ProReal world. So please use during this part the chat box for all the questions. After that, we will have the live demo session when you will see presented concepts in action. After that live session, there will be a time for questions and answers to this part. And before we start, yesterday I was talking to Caroline and to David, and there is an option for us to have interactive poll here. So before we start, you will see in a second a poll on the screen, and let's move ourselves to the webinar. So please answer some questions here, as you can see, about the compassion. And we will compare these results as well after the webinar. So let's see. So okay, it's like just another 2 seconds for voting. Okay, thank you. So let's see the results. Great. Brilliant. So let's see the other question concerning the compassion. Thank you. Everybody has voted. So let's see those results. It seems to be slightly different. Great. And the last one. So thank you. Everybody voted. So let's see the results. Great. I think that all we are in the right place during that webinar as well. Brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you. I'm really curious how it will go after the webinar. We will have a few minutes to do it afterwards as well. So finally, let me introduce our host today, Caroline Falconer, great friend of us. Caroline, please tell us about yourself and your work and research concerning compassion. I will make you the presenter now, Caroline. Please share your webcam.
Okay, does everybody see my face?
Raise your hand if you see Caroline's face. Yes, everybody
Okay,
can see you,
good.
Caroline.
And you can see my slides, correct?
Yes, it's correct.
Good. Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you very much for the introduction, Michael, and I'm really pleased to be doing this webinar today and to share with you my experiences of the compassion research field and how this fits with virtual reality and with ProReal. So my job at the moment at the University of Nottingham is to really work to identify unmet needs in mental health and how those unmet needs can be met by digital technology. And of course, that would be virtual reality in my case. I also work in the field of compassion research and how compassion is associated with mental health, mental well-being and mental health problems. And so I'm really combining the two. So I'll take you through some of the theories of compassion and compassion-focused therapy. So I work quite closely with Paul Gilbert, who's in Derby. I'll take you through very briefly some of my own research at when I was at UCL, and then briefly about what I'm doing at the moment with ProReal. So the first thing to really, get to grips with is what is compassion. So a lot of people kind of get confused as to what compassion is, and they think that it's kindness, and of course kindness is a really, really important part of that, but it's not everything. So you can be kind by remembering someone's birthday, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a compassionate act. Other people get it confused with pity, for example, but this is more associated with looking down on someone, with perhaps feelings of disdain, and the motivation behind a helping behaviour coming from pity is very different from that just coming from compassion. So the basic definition of compassion is that it is a sensitivity to the suffering of the self and others, which is importantly accompanied by a desire and a commitment to try and alleviate and prevent that suffering. So this is quite a complex process of cognition, behaviour and emotion that involves things like empathy, distress tolerance, motivation to engage with whatever it is that you're feeling with, and suffering with. You have to have courage, because to do that is not easy. It's a very difficult and can be in itself a very painful thing. You need to have wisdom, so you need to know how to try and alleviate and prevent suffering, and then obviously acts of kindness and generosity. And that can be both in the inter and intrapersonal spheres, so being compassionate towards other people as well as being compassionate towards yourself. Now that definition is kind of split into two psychologies. So the first is the intention and the act of turning towards and engaging with suffering, so your own suffering or the suffering of someone else, rather than turning away from that suffering or trying to disassociate yourself from that suffering, which, like I say, takes a lot of courage. So a lot of people think that being kind towards yourself or even being kind towards other people is sort of a sign of weakness, where indeed it's actually a sign of strength and requires a lot of courage and wisdom. The second part of the compassion kind of process is the intention to acquire knowledge. You need knowledge to be able to alleviate your stress. So you need strategies. You need to learn those strategies to alleviate pain, suffering, and also the ability to act on that wisdom. And so the key thing here is actually to disassociate the idea or the definition of compassion from emotion, because what compassion is it's a motivation, and I'll touch upon that later on. So what does the research tell us at the moment? Well, I kind of come into this from the angle of self-criticism in mental health and the role that that plays. So we know that self-criticism plays a really important role in the maintenance of mental health problems, of course the development as well, and also it plays a really important role in relapse too. Converse to this, people who are really high in self-compassion are they they have better mental as well as physical well-being. They're better able to cope in the face of stress and negative life events, and there's some evidence to suggest that these people are more motivated and productive in the workplace as well, which kind of makes sense if you're better able to cope with stress. So self-compassion is one way that we can kind of buffer. It's like a natural buffer to combat self-criticism. And really with these Paul Gilbert has developed compassion-focused therapy. So it's sort of a bit like a third wave kind of CBT approach, but it's, as you can imagine, trying to cultivate compassion for the self and others, and trying to cultivate a compassionate mindset. And this sort of has a three-pronged approach to it. So it's being able to give compassion towards yourself, so self-soothing, as well as giving compassion towards other people, and also being open towards receiving compassion. So in the poll we saw that quite a lot of people scored highly on being compassionate towards other people, but they were lower in being compassionate towards themselves. And this is quite a common thing, because you know, it's okay to be kind to other people, but not to be kind to the self. So this is what Paul Gilbert's compassion-focused therapy is really about developing, and it's, yes, it's drawn from Buddhist psychology, but it's really within an evolutionary and developmental psychology framework. So as a part of the therapy process, there's a very large psychoeducational component of this that I think is a wonderful way to de-shame, and that's really the concept of the fact that our brains are really, really tricky. So our brains have evolved over millennia, particularly within evolution of the mammalian brain. And this sort of process has left us with a brain that is not quite suited to our current culture or our society today. So the brain has evolved these essentially three systems, which of course is an oversimplification, but it's actually quite a nice working model. So there's these three systems, which I'll talk about more in a minute, but these systems, one of which is a threat system. So this is kind of your fight or flight system. And you know what this would have evolved to deal with is, you know, lions on the savannah, for example. But what it's having to deal with now is social threat. So being rejected by other people, or me in the minds of other people, which plays a huge role in mental health problems. Now, the compassion-focused therapy is also concerned with allowing people to identify or be mindful of multiple parts of themselves. So we all have internal monologues for sure, but we also have different roles. So I have a role as an academic, I have a role as a daughter, I have a role as a partner. And Paul Gilbert conceptualizes this within social mentality theory. And what that says is each kind of social role that you have comes with its own set of motivations, which comes with its own set of behaviors, thoughts and feelings. And they can also conflict with one another. So through the process of cultivating a compassionate mind, you can be able to identify those and sort of have use your compassionate side to kind of mediate those or mitigate those relationships. Now, I mentioned before these kind of three models, and this is a really, really common model within compassion-focused therapy, and it's actually a really nice kind of working model to show clients as well. So these three systems have evolved, like I've said, and then they're also fine-tuned during development. So I mentioned before the threat system, so this is fight or flight, so it's about protection, it's about anger, power, fear, and it's quite automatic. And then you have the drive system, which is really concerned with, well, originally it would be concerned with obtaining food, shelter, sex, water, etc. And so it's really the wanting system, the desire system, pleasure, achieving. So this is me wanting to do well at work, or me wanting things to succeed in my life and finding ways to try and achieve that. And then you have what's called the soothing system, and this is really the affiliate system, and is really fine-tuned when we're growing up with our parents and our external stimuli, and it's about creating a sense of calm. As it says on the tin, it's about soothing and being able to provide reassurance, and importantly safety, so this idea of safety, and being content. So the compassion-focused therapy is about kind of stimulating and activating the soothing system, because all of these systems interact with one another. So the threat system as you can imagine, if you're thinking about anxiety, for example, this could be really hyperactive, hypervigilant, and you know, be trying to upregulate the drive system to try and alleviate that anxiety. And in the meantime, it's going to try and, you know, suppress the soothing system because it's got stuff to do, and this is life or death kind of situations. So what the compassion focused therapy tries to do is to kind of upregulate the soothing system so that the other systems can work in harmony or work more adaptively. And these kind of images at the sides are perhaps demonstrations of the different kind of balances between the three systems. So if you look down in the bottom left, you've got a really active threat system and an active drive system, and your soothing system is quite small. This one here, the threat system is so active that you just can't do anything about it. So you just shut down. Your drive system just shuts down, and your soothing system is also underactive. And then if you look to the right hand side of the screen, so people with a kind of balanced or a sort of well-formed, so to speak, soothing system is it's sort of down-regulated threat system. It's being soothed by the soothing system, and also the drive system it may be quite active, but the motivations behind whatever drive we're trying to achieve would be compassion orientated. Okay, so it's just a really nice illustration of the sort of evolutionary and developmental aspects of it, and how this can fit into individual clients' understanding of themselves in certain situations. Now, the compassion focused therapy process, like I say, is a huge psychoeducational component, and this is also about addressing quite a big problem, which is a fear of compassion for other people, a fear of compassion for the self, and a fear of receiving compassion from other people. Now, this is one of the key mitigating factors for compassion focused therapy, so it needs to be talked about, and if people are still struggling with it, then it needs to go through a process of formulation, looking at their fears and how they're fit with core beliefs and safety strategies and things. People have a fear of compassion for very different reasons. It could be that they feel like they don't deserve compassion. They feel like maybe their self-criticism or the fact that they're harsh on themselves keeps them going, keeps them on track. Or some people just have negative experiences with compassion-related emotions or thoughts because of past relationships that they've had that should have represented an affiliative relationship and actually turned out to be quite a negative experience. So, like I say, huge psychoeducational component, de-shaming, and this is usually followed by rhythmic breathing, so a guided exercise in slowing the breath, and this is about engaging the nervous system and calming the threat system down a little bit before you start the compassion imagery. So the compassion imagery, so this is all pretty much mental imagery work, so mind in the eye, mind in the eye in the mind. And it's about trying to develop a compassionate other, a compassionate self, and also giving compassion, receiving compassion from other people. So the process is usually trying to imagine yourself at your compassionate best. So this is imagining myself with qualities of kindness, of love, of my desire to be helpful and supportive, of confidence, of strength, authority, of course wisdom, a sort of non-judgmental stance as well, and a commitment to the person that you're interacting with or to yourself. And there's a really strong interplay here between your thoughts, your simulations in your mind-eye, and the body. So you're constantly reminded about, well, try and think about how this manifests itself as a facial expression, manifests itself in the posture. So if you're thinking about authority, how does this affect your posture? I think about the tone of your voice, and also during the process think about what the soothing does to your visceral sensations, your anxiety, these sort of things. And then it's about focusing that. So it's about focusing and directing it towards, for example, someone you know who is suffering, and you do that process and experience that in your mind's eye. And then the next step is to internalize that, to direct it towards the self. And like anything else, it's about practice. So the more you practice, the more you can kind of access these qualities within you. They come more quickly to mind. And it makes it easier for them to act through you. Now, that's just a very, very, very brief summary of the therapy process. But if you're interested in any of this, there's free resources at the Compassionate Mind Foundation. The website's on there, and I think we're going to give it to you at the end. So there's free audio, free videos, free scales and measures and things like that on there. And that's the foundation that was created by Professor Paul Gilbert, who created the compassion focused therapy. Now, just to try and demonstrate this idea of cultivating a compassionate mind and motivation and how that comes with its own sort of thoughts and behaviours, I just want to do a very brief sort of thought experiment with you now and just try and answer these questions as I kind of go along. So we have two people. So the first person is a person who is completely motivated to get on in the world, to make as much money as possible, regardless of other people, and is really only interested in themselves. Okay. Now ask yourself this. What does this person pay attention to, and what do they focus their minds on? What do they value in life, and what gives them meaning? What excites them? Importantly, what threatens them? How do they nurture themselves? How do they see and behave towards other people? How do other people see and relate to them? The point of this example is really to kind of show that a person's motivation shapes the way that they think, the way they feel, and the way that they behave, and consequently how they interact with the world and how the world interacts with them. Okay? And now compare this to person two. So this person takes a genuine interest in their own well-being and the well-being of others. They enjoy sharing and working, helping with others. Now ask yourself the question, what does this person pay attention to and focus on? What gives them value in life? What gives them meaning? What excites them? What threatens them? How do they nurture themselves? How do they see and relate to other people? And how do other people see and relate to them? And once again, this person's motivation in life to be good and helpful to other people influences the way that they behave, the way they think, and the way that they feel, and how they interact with other people and how other people interact with them. And I think that's the overall aim of compassion-focused therapy. So while I think it's an incredibly useful thing, and there's a lot of face value to this, and certainly the people that I interact with really kind of grab on to the very simple idea of being kind towards yourself. But it also offers an aspirational component to develop the self within this framework. And it not only benefits the self, but it benefits other people as well. So I suppose by now you might be asking, okay, great, compassion-focused therapy, it works quite well, it works in a range of mental health problems because compassion and self-criticism are called transdiagnostic. But there are some problems with it. Like I've mentioned before, people have a fear of compassion. It's a really strong mitigating factor in the success of the therapy. But most importantly, people really, really struggle with imagery, okay? So it's difficult, you need motivation to do it. It's difficult to maintain over time, and everybody's experience is different, you know, from one to the next, so it's different within and between people. And some just sort of lack any kind of insightful impact from it. And you know, you have other people as well who have their imagery attempts kind of thwarted by the fact that they actually don't have any compassionate experiences to draw upon, which is incredibly sad but true. And really I think virtual reality can help here. It can help people here not only because it involves an embodied experience, which I'll touch upon in a minute, but you know, you get rid of the imagery problem because you have a constant visual input. It also provides people with an opportunity who haven't experienced compassion before in their lives to experience it in different types of scenarios in the virtual reality, which maybe they could then take into imagery or take with them through their everyday lives to kind of remember and recall what compassion is really about. And also what I think is quite interesting, and it relates to mental health as well, is the fact that in a virtual reality you can lock or you can manipulate a first-person perspective, or indeed any perspective, first, third, or a bird's eye view perspective. Now there's some research showing that when you recall an event, so an autobiographical event, an event that you were involved in, when you try and recall this, so I mean we could do it now, so try and think about what you had for breakfast this morning and really picture it in your mind's eye. Picture yourself having the experience of breakfast. Okay, so have you done it? Okay. What was your perspective in that recall of breakfast? Were you re-experiencing breakfast from a first-person perspective, so through your own eyes, you could see your breakfast in front of you, or were you viewing it from a third-person perspective, so were you in the image? You could see yourself sitting at the table having breakfast. Now what the research is showing is that depending on the type of perspective that you take can lead to a different interpretation of the event. So having a third-person perspective, for some maybe a distancing, so they don't feel as much, or it means people take a slightly more analytical stance. Whereas people who have a first-person perspective, the experience tends to be a lot more sensory-laden, it's more vivid, more emotions. But if you're thinking about self-criticism and how that relates to a sort of analytical stance, then you might run into problems there. And so I think the virtual reality is a really good way to kind of look at that, manipulate it, and sort of fix it. So I've talked about embodiment before. So one of the really nice things about using mental imagery is that it's basically a process of simulation. So when you try and recall what you're going to have for dinner tonight, you may start salivating. When you recall a crappy event that happened last week, you may feel rubbish, and you get a simulation of the kind of self-criticism and the sad feelings, the shame that you had. So there's a real manifestation of whatever you're recalling in your mind's eye within the body. But virtual reality offers a different type of embodiment experience because you can actually do something, or you can watch a representation of yourself on the screen. So my experience before in virtual reality has been slightly different from ProReal. We've used immersive virtual reality, which is participants wearing a head-mounted display where they can see the virtual environment, and they literally step into the shoes of an avatar. Okay, so this means that when I move my physical body, the body of the avatar moves. Okay, and when you spend a little bit of time like this sort of builds up a sense of self-identification with, and a sense of localization within the avatar, and also senses of ownership. I own that avatar and I control it as well. And okay, ProReal isn't immersive, but you'd still get the self-identification with and a sense of ownership and agency over the avatars that you're building in ProReal. And we know from the literature as well that this sort of embodiment phenomenon can be really powerful in terms of the way that it affects behavior, emotion, and thoughts. So if you were to embody a child avatar, for example, the research is showing that your cognition shifts towards something more akin to being a child. If you are white and you embody a black avatar, for example, then this results in reduced racial biases. So this field is very ripe for research, and there's not that much done on it, but you can see how it's potentially very, very powerful. And this is the type of virtual reality that we used at UCL, and I just want to show you a very, very brief video of what this feels like. So this is me in the head-mounted display, and I have a suit on, and this tracks my motion, and what that does is it superimposes my body movement onto the avatar, which I can see through the head-mounted display. And the bottom left hand of the screen is what I see, and you can see the synchrony between my physical movements and the movements of my avatar. So it's just a very short video, there's no audio. So I can look around, have quite a degree of movement there. And this is a virtual mirror that I'm looking at, and I can see my virtual body in the mirror. Great. And I just want to talk very briefly about the type of compassion paradigm that that we used virtual reality in some of the results. So what we did is we had participants come in, and in image A here at the top left-hand corner, the participant got the head-mounted display on and his body trackers, and she's seated opposite a chair. Now, we gave our participants a very brief psychoeducation about how to be compassionate towards other people. We gave them some lines to say. And then in the virtual reality, they had to comfort an upset crying child, which is in image B here on the top right. And this child got better as they gave compassionate responses. And then we split the groups up into two. So one group in the second part of the experiment got to embody the child. And while they were embodied as the child, they got to re-experience their compassionate response from the perspective of the child. So they saw their original adult avatar, they heard their own voice, and they saw their own body movements. In the other group, they didn't get to embody the child, they didn't get to embody anything actually. What they viewed is the exchange from a third person perspective. Okay? And the results from that were really interesting. So what we found for both of these groups is a reduction in self-criticism. So this is a reduction in self-criticism from time point 1 to time point 2 after the virtual reality scenario. But importantly, we found only an increase in self-compassion for the groups in the first-person perspective condition. And what we think is going on here, and what we try to achieve with the virtual reality, is this sort of unique self-to-self situation. So I am me as the child, but that's also me as the adult, and that's my voice, that's my body movement. So you have this kind of unique self-to-self situation where I'm giving compassion towards myself. And what we found is an increase in self-compassion after that process. In another study, we wanted to look at the kind of longitudinal effect of this. And so we had participants do repeated sessions. So we had just 3 sessions actually. And then we looked at 1-month follow-up. And again, we found sort of an entrenched effect of this increase in self-compassion. But what we found, and what's really interesting, is we found changes in trait levels of self-criticism. So the reduction in trait self-criticism, and fears of compassion as well, which is really, really important. So that's really changing personality traits, which is quite outstanding because, you know, the paradigm wasn't long. So it's about a minute giving and a minute receiving. So 2 minutes and you're getting these kind of effects, which is really, really encouraging. But of course we wanted to see what it was like for depressed volunteers, and so we did it again, and we did some follow-ups, and we found similar results. So we find increases in self-compassion, reductions in self-criticism, but importantly decreases in depression. So what we were doing in the virtual reality is interacting with their traditional therapy in some way, and is improving their depression scores. So, but I also wanted to kind of share some really, really nice subjective experiences of people in the depression study. And this sort of really illustrates, I think, what we're trying to do, and it's really encouraging actually. So the first one says, you know, the virtual reality allows you to step outside of yourself, to apply yourself and bear witness to yourself. The virtual reality provides insight into the relationship that you have with yourself. The experience has taught me that we are all human and vulnerable, and it's okay to be vulnerable as an adult. It wasn't all positive. Every single person said that the kind of scenario, the situation was awkward, it's cheesy, it was a bit strange, and it was. And also every single person said that they felt hearing their voice was horrible, it was strange, it was really cringy. But in spite of this, we found the results, and also we found that every single participant said that they would continue with the virtual reality experiences if there were different scenarios, and if the scenarios were perhaps more tailored towards individual needs. And this is quite nice. So we just got hot off the press. I only managed to pull out a couple of quotes from a study that ProReal are doing with kids down at the University of Roehampton with humanistic counselling, and these similar kind of self-referential comments are coming out. So one, for example, said the virtual reality helped them see the impact of themselves, and also, you know, they're saying that it's easier to express myself with the ProReal instead of just using words all the time. So again, it's sort of building evidence for our hypothesis that imagery or just talking therapies could really be augmented or assisted or even replaced perhaps by virtual reality. Now, what are we doing now? Well, my colleagues at UCL are trying to get some funding to continue our immersive work and build a sort of suite of scenarios. But in the meantime, here at the University of Nottingham, I'm working with ProReal again to develop some protocols around self-compassion and identifying multiple selves in depression, but also in a couple of other clinical populations. So what I'm really interested in doing is sort of identifying the kind of internal monologues that we have. So they may be shame, self-criticism, despair, sort of extracting them, personifying them out in avatars, and really within a compassionate mind frame from psychoeducation and in the presence of a compassionate avatar, sort of trying to address some of these issues. And I think that's it so far. So just before I pass you over to David, who's going to try and illustrate some of these points in ProReal, I just want to thank my collaborators at UCL and also my funders at UCL and here at the University of Nottingham as well. So thank you very much for your attention. And I have just thrown a lot of information at you, so maybe some time to digest perhaps. Michael?
Thank you. Thank you, Caroline, so much for this. It's very inspirational for me, and I think it sets a great foundations here for the next step here for us. Thank you. So I would like to ask Klaus, do we have you noticed any questions came through the chat window to this? Hello, Klaus? Okay. So maybe just a time for 2 or 3 questions for this. So if you have any questions, so please raise your hand. Okay, so Kati was the first. So Kati, please, you are unmute now, so please.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes. Hi.
Oh, great. Hi. Thanks, Caroline. That was brilliant. Really enjoyed it. So the one question that cropped up in my mind as you were talking was the relationship between the way that people connect with early negative affiliative experiences. I'm really interested in that because I know that a lot of people can find compassion toxic because it really evokes in a very immediate way as an almost a state shift connecting with that, you know, early negative experiences. So when you're kind to them, they feel as though you're hurting them.
Yeah, definitely.
So I was just thinking about how that might work and helping people work through that as part of either immersive technology or ProReal. And if you've got any comments about that.
Yeah, I think it's a really, really important point actually, and Paul works really hard with this type of group of people, because you're right, people, particularly with early trauma, for example, with abuse, they could really struggle with it, and I think you need to address that first, or try to approach it more sensitively than just going straight into this compassion imagery, and that's again working through the fears of compassion and understanding perhaps some of the negative emotions that come up when they try to engage with a compassionate relationship with themselves or with other people. I think perhaps building up through virtual reality with ProReal might be a slightly easier way in. I mean, I'm not sure. The work still needs to be done. We're going to be doing some work down in Exeter with some virtual reality with early trauma. And it's really to augment compassion imagery. So this would be kind of touching upon what you're suggesting, but we really need a lot of input, I think, from service users, from people with lived experience, input into the type of virtual reality scenario that we kind of approach and take to them. So I think the word really needs to be done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Caroline. So taking the time under consideration here, so I think the last question. So sorry, Andrew, for this. I will give the speaker to Michelle Wood. Hello, Michelle, you raise your hand as well. Can we hear you, Michelle? Oops. No. So, Andrew, your question now. Andrew, can we hear you?
Yeah, thanks, Mick. Yeah, Caroline, Mikhail, thank you. Caroline, that was fantastic. My question was about longer-term change and whether there's any evidence with our understanding now of brain plasticity as to whether the capacity for self-compassion can be developed and can be nurtured over time, whether there's any longitudinal studies on that. Have you got any input on that?
Yeah, so there are longitudinal studies, not so much with compassion-focused therapy, but more with loving-kindness meditation, I think, which is using some slightly different methods. But what's really interesting, actually, is the kind of neurological changes that you get through loving-kindness meditation or compassion imagery. So you're really seeing changes at a neural level when you're doing this, which I think is incredibly exciting. Does that answer your question? I mean, there's quite a lot out there, and I can definitely send you some reading if you're interested.
Andrew? Okay, so thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Caroline, for this. And
my pleasure.
I see some questions came over the chat window as well, but taking the time really under consideration, we'll be happy to provide you answers over the email after the webinar.
Yeah, so we'll I've got some reading and some links that I think we're going to send out after the webinar for people if they're interested in reading up more.
Thank you. Thank you, Caroline.
No problem.
Okay, so now please have a next stage, so a short live demo session, and maybe I would like to involve David here as well. Hello, David.
Hi, Mikhail, thank you.
Hi. So can you here is your stage, David.
Okay, I've got the microphone. Good morning, everybody, and welcome now to the live demo. This is one of several protocols that we've been developing for use in our software for both those in mental health and also the corporate coaches. And this particular self-compassion protocol that Caroline designed, I used last year in some work with a client, and it worked particularly well. So this one has been tested, and what Liz and I are going to do this morning is a live demo, and just so as you know, this isn't a role play. Liz and I have talked about this, so we've already done some contracting, but I just want to contract with everybody else before we continue. So first of all, about confidentiality. I'd just like your assurances, and there's no need for hands up or anything here, that I'd really like everybody to respect that this is some personal work we're about to do, and I'd ask you to not talk about this outside of this group. At the end of this session, we will be putting a film together so you can see the slides and you can see some of what we've done. And we've made it clear to Liz that it's her choice as to whether we make public the film of, or make available to you the film of the session we're about to do. If that doesn't happen, regardless, we will have a film of a kind of case study protocol in action. Liz, I guess I need to be able to hear you as well at this stage. So, Mikhail, we need to...
Okay, hi. Can you hear me, David?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great.
And I haven't got anything on the screen at the moment. Okay, and just so as the others can catch up with us a bit, Liz. Liz and I talked earlier this morning about the kind of narrative for this protocol is to think of a time when the self-criticism or self-doubt, some of that may kick in, so there may be some triggers. And Liz had some thoughts about that, so maybe you'd like to, you clearly found a place for this to start. So we're in the castle.
We're in the castle.
So what's that all about?
Yeah. Well, when you asked me to think about it, I was thinking about networking, as which in my work I have to go and find new clients and work with my clients and keep in touch with old clients. And my view of myself in that is that I'm rubbish at it. I'm not good. I don't enjoy it. I'm not good at it. People won't want to talk to me, so I thought it was a good topic to look at. And the reason I put myself in the castle is that when I'm at my desk at home thinking about it, it feels like I'm very lonely and getting a bit isolated, and it's hard for me to break out of that.
Okay. So the you mentioned something about you're rubbish at it. So would it be a good place to start to add some kind of avatar there that's the one that's telling you that you're rubbish at this?
You're rubbish at it, yeah, that'd be good. Get that one in first. Right. Okay, so it's quite big, this one. And blue, and so what shall we name this? Shall we just put rubbish?
So this is the one that's saying to you, what is it saying to you? Maybe you go to give it a voice first. What's it saying?
It's saying, you're no good at this.
Okay.
And the posture would be let's try criticizing. Yeah, that'll do.
Okay. So go back to your properties and just turn it. So is it?
Oh yeah.
Go back into properties. That's it.
Oops, gone too far. Oh, yeah, let's do that for now. Oops.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of it, and you're saying that this part of you also says you're no good, you're rubbish at it.
Yeah.
And you've got a sense of feeling isolated. So what else is going on?
Yeah, I'm not interesting. I won't have anything. I've got nothing to offer them. That would be another one.
Great. That sounds like another
Do
avatar.
I put that one?
Yeah.
Over there. You say.
So you've got nothing to offer them.
You've got nothing. Yeah, I'm not interesting. Is quite a strong one for me.
So if you use the word you, so it addresses you
Not
rather than I. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, you're not interested. Great.
Oh, hang on.
You're not interested. You've got nothing.
Got nothing to offer. You're not interesting. Okay. Yeah.
Lovely. Okay, great. Give that one an emoticon.
Oh, okay. We need a posture. That's more.
Is that right?
It's kind of because that represents the kind of it feels That's the, you know, being kind of drawing to myself when I get that one and not feeling good about myself.
Okay, so that might be how you feel, but when this particular avatar is saying you've got nothing to offer, what posture would that have when it's saying that to you? It's saying, Liz, you've got nothing to offer. So I think your response here in the me avatar, which is Liz, might be that kind of hiding.
Right,
Okay.
right. Okay. Yeah, yes. Okay, so that know all, yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
Right, you've got
So if you
nothing to offer.
go back to the properties and give it a colour. So when you think of that avatar that's saying you've got nothing to offer, what colour comes to mind?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of grey. Yeah.
And
Well, no, actually, that's probably, I feel grey. It's probably more black, isn't it? That would be black.
So,
Yeah.
Lovely. Okay, so if you click done on that one.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier you put in that kind of hiding posture. So just click on your own me avatar in front of you. Yeah. So.
It was it the hiding one?
I think it was the
No,
hiding.
no, it wasn't as low as that, was it? It was
defensive and closed. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay.
So if I get that. Oh, I've got my capitals on for some.
It's okay, it's fine. Probably make it easier to read. I'm having to really squint.
Oh, are you? I put it in capitals.
That's okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
So click on done.
Okay.
And do you want to give yourself a colour here?
Yeah.
So,
Just,
what's the colour you connect with?
You know, I suppose I'm kind of purple.
And just going back and go back into your edit for yourself again, because there's something about you wanted to do some networking. So go to your caption and help just a little bit with the narrative here. So what is it you're saying, and what is it you want, and how, you know? So add a bit of a caption for yourself.
Okay, when this is going on, it's like so. So I need to be making more connections, and I'm no good at it.
Lovely. Wrinkly grin. Okay, so
and then I just
so
makes me want to draw up that drawbridge. You know?
Okay. So if you drew up the drawbridge, do you want to put something in there? Yeah. So go and draw up the drawbridge somehow. You might want to use a proper symbol.
Yeah, I need to. I need
you
to
might
put
find a useful wall.
A road block.
Oh
yeah, the wall.
Yes.
Yeah, the wall would be.
Great.
Yeah, the wall's probably good. All right, I'm going to have to move, I think. Just let me stick it there for now. Oh, right.
Put it there and slide it around.
If I... oh, no. I want to go back. I want to
go into free camera and motor your free camera into the castle. Love the flying skills.
Oh, sorry. I'm not very good at navigating this free camera yet. Oh, there we are. Great. Not bad.
Okay, now you can drag and drop your wall.
Right.
So just on that wall, so when you said you wanted to draw up the drawbridge, and in this case you put the wall in there, what is that? So if we were to label that wall, what would it be? What is it? Or what's it doing for you?
It's keep safe, I think.
Yeah.
Kind of stopping rejection. That's my anti-rejection wall.
Lovely. Okay. So if you could just name it your anti-rejection wall.
Mm. Mm.
Okay, just how's that in terms of look and feel? Is that about right?
Yeah, that feels okay. Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
I'm just wondering if there's anything else in there. There's two big ones really.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, this one's bigger. This is sorry. This is the bigger one actually. So I'll just make that big. That's cool. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's have a look at the parts of you that you might be aware of that could bring another view. So, you know, this morning we've been talking about the self-compassion.
Mm.
What are you aware of for yourself that could bring some warmth and some counter to the impact of these two in front of you?
From within me.
Hmm.
Yeah. Let's have a think. Well, there is I know there's yeah, if I think, you know, so I do have something to say. So there's the knowledgeable me.
Okay. So this might be the part of you that acknowledges how knowledgeable you are and that you have something to say.
Mm.
Hmm.
So this will be saying, you do have stuff to offer.
Great. Yes. That will get top marks from any teenager, by the way, the fact you've got stuff to offer.
My daughter would be proud of me.
Mum, you've got stuff.
I've got stuff, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Let's get that one across to you.
So that would be, that's
I'm just,
would that be good?
Can I just hear you say it just for a moment?
Yeah.
So let's hear you say, you've got stuff to offer this.
You've got stuff to offer. You have got stuff to offer. That'd be good.
Okay. That sounds different.
You do have, so you have got stuff. That's different, isn't it? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So if we could underline have, yeah.
You have got stuff to offer. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
so back to the posture there, and give it a colour then for this one. Yeah, go back into you, and then position it.
Yeah, let's give that red. Oh no, that'd be orange.
Okay. Well, that was really clear, wasn't it? It's not red, it's orange.
Yeah, it's orange.
Okay. And where is it?
Yeah. Well, actually, we kind of need to move that, don't we? We need to move that one in front of over here.
Is that because that's where you want it or where it is?
Well, I'm thinking that if it's going to be kind of powerful to me, it needs to be in front of this one.
Okay. So that's where you'd like it.
I'm going to be, yeah.
Yes,
Where it is at the moment. Do you want me to see where it is at the moment? It's probably smaller than that. Okay, it's probably smaller than that, and it's probably it's probably kind of over here in the wings. So I know it's there, and I can, if I really turn around to look at it, I can see it, but it's not quite in my, so much in my field of view as these two at the moment.
Okay, so if you click on Liz first person, let's see just where she views it.
Oh.
Oh no, this is a bit of a wobbly camera, this one.
Is it? Yeah.
Oh, I can see, you can see that one, and there we are. It does just about come into your view.
Just about coming to view, yeah.
And then back in there.
Yeah.
How's that feel?
Feels these guys are a bit more, oh God, I can't come out of this view, it makes me dizzy.
Yeah, yeah.
These just need to be a bit closer there, really, I think. Yeah.
Okay. So either back into third person or the free camera,
Yeah.
so that we can stabilize the view.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And I noticed that there's another. Well, we need to.
go on.
We just need to give that one a name. So that's. So that's kind of wisdom. But then there's another one that I think is important. That I kind of have, but it's really tiny. Is kind of that. They're not only that I've got stuff to offer, but that I've got me to offer. But that's kind of, I do know that that's there, but that's very tiny. But you know, they'll like me just because I'm me.
Lovely.
So it's kind of, I'm going to put tiny, tiny me.
Okay. So and just something I noticed with you is it's worth probably putting down the text in the caption first and then go back to the other thing. So what's this tiny one saying to you again? Something about you?
It's saying, what is it saying to me? It's saying you, it's saying you're great.
You're great.
Oh,
because
oh, God, that's really hard. That's really hard to write. Because, oh God, you're really great because you're you.
And just go back, can you, yeah, go for the posture.
Oh dear. Oh, that's kind of, oh, that's, oh, kind of, that's my, oh, I think that's, it just feels so tiny and little. So it is there, but it's small.
It's present and small. All right. And give it go back to properties. Let's have a color and a name. I know you called it Tiny Me, but there's, if Tiny Me had a bit more of a name. What's his role?
Oh, what would it be? It would be, it would be lovely me.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Liz, we've got a couple of minutes left.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and with the last few minutes, what was something really small here? So first of all, go into Tiny Me. So let's use the cameras just for a moment. And so if you go to either Tiny Me or the other one, so you know where the camera views are. Yeah, lovely you.
Yeah.
That's it. No, go into
sorry,
the camera
down the bottom. Sorry, yeah, sorry, down here.
So just click done on the edit box.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry.
That's it. Just click done on the edit box.
And then lovely me, right? And then go into what, first
Yeah,
person?
that's it. Yeah, or stay with third person.
Mm.
Yeah, so you might want to turn and face Liz from there, and unless she's facing that direction.
Mm. Mm.
Okay.
I kind of want to say, well, from there I want to go, hello!
You want to go,
Did you listen to
hello!
me?
Okay.
So I want to change the
Okay.
posture. Can I change the
Yeah,
posture?
go on. Yeah, do that. Change the double it. So,
So posture. I want to go the kind of calling. I know there is one.
it's asking for attention is one that's it.
That's it. That's it.
Great. So change your caption. Go to the caption.
Yeah, no, I need to. I want to keep that, but I think I need to. I want to make it here, don't I? So I want to make it a bit bigger. There
Great.
we are. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Knocking over the other one. That's nice.
And go back to Liz. View from Liz. How's that?
Yeah, that feels like I can't ignore it anymore, can I? It's kind of it's in my face. Yeah.
All right.
Mm.
Are we okay to leave it there, Liz?
Yeah.
Are you all right? I guess we're
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
a
yeah,
bit of
yeah, that's
okay.
cool. Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Good. You're welcome. Well done. Good work. Okay. So I think we can come out of that session and we can take questions, reflections and thoughts. So Klaus, I don't know if you've had questions or anything coming up on the chat. And Mikhail, are you managing then voices and things, cameras?
Yeah, sure. So I can see that Caroline raised her hand for the question, I guess. So Caroline, please.
Hi, thank you for that, Liz and David. It was really, really nice. And I don't really have a question. I just wanted to kind of reflect some of my thoughts when you were going through that. And, it was really quite powerful for me to see the sort of negative aspects of the self in front of the door. In front of the way out, or the light source. Actually, I thought it was very, very nicely placed. And then Liz, you're feeling like you want to draw the drawbridge up. And while this kind of might make you feel safe, I also got quite a strong feeling of isolation, because the way out is now shut, and the light is now gone as well. So I thought that was quite powerful. And then I really liked, I don't know whether that was just by chance, when you were bringing up the lovely me and you were kind of increasing the size and the presence of that, how it really was. It looked like it was really backing off and onto your kind of negative avatar, which I think was quite powerful. Just really, really a nice demonstration. Of course, when we had to cut it short, that might have been my fault, so I apologise for that, running over on my presentation. But, it would be really going in and looking at the qualities of that lovely me and trying to direct it towards your original self avatar, and working from there and kind of bringing out the posture to something that's a bit more neutral or a bit happier. But yeah, very nice. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
It'd be lovely to hear. Go on.
Well, you could definitely imagine continuing that session and playing with that that avatar and putting it near the wall, and what does that feel like, and so it was a very powerful session for me too. Yeah, thank you, David.
So we've got some.
It would be lovely to hear from anyone else that might have resonated with Liz's session. So not so much commenting on Liz, but also what did you notice that was relevant for yourself?
Yeah, Katie Amor, arise. So please, Katie.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So thanks, first of all, thanks, Liz. I think That was really interesting to see such a big change in such a small time. Because quite a lot of that session was about populating the different avatars, and I thought that was relevant for me in different situations. I could see how action is blocked by. That was really great, having the wall blocking action, and then having someone say the avatars hold hands as they go through that maybe later on. But I suppose what I was wondering was, do you think you could do that for you? Say you didn't have anyone to work with, do you think people would find it powerful if they're able to do that just on their own?
I'd like to respond to that if I may, because I did a session and a couple of sessions in this for myself, and it's rather to Caroline's point about practice. I went into it this morning just to remind myself and to put in some extra captions, and I found it really useful by myself. But then I knew how to set it up and how to use it, but I think after initial work it's certainly possible for someone to go in and do it by themselves as part of a practice, a bit like a meditation of self-awareness.
Well, I ask you because I tried it a few times when I was practicing with ProReal itself, and I found that in my everyday life a picture came into my head, when I was thinking about things in a non-compassionate way to myself. Suddenly a picture of the wise, compassionate avatar popped into my head completely involuntarily. So I thought the visual power might be, much more than when I've done like guided imagery in a meditative way. It seemed more powerful from that point of view.
Good point. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. And Eileen, you would like to ask a question. Eileen, please unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you, Liz. I noticed that a lot of what you put out there really resonated very deeply with me, and I felt very similar in many situations, as I'm sure many of us did. But I noticed how it's just in that short scenario that you put together, how I noticed my own self-compassion growing, watching you put your scenario out there. So I found that very interesting to be able, if you were brave enough, as you were, to share your experience or one's experience, how the effect it can have on other people to build their own self-compassion. I found that quite powerful.
Yeah, I think there's a huge value in that. We're not alone, are we? We've all got the same or similar challenges, and just knowing that
Absolutely.
is helpful. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I don't have a question. I just wanted to make an observation, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Eileen. Caroline, please. You would like to...
I just have a very short point to pick up where Eileen suggested, this sort of sharing idea. So there's some research that is coming out of Stanford at the moment, and that's trying to cultivate a compassionate mind in pairs. So you go through, the psychoeducational process, but you work with a partner to discuss things that are bothering you or that have upset others, and you kind of talk through the compassion process with one another, and their results are really, really encouraging actually. And there's some work done in prisons, and the results coming out of that was it was bad for the research because it was very difficult to kind of have two separate groups, so a control group and an experimental group, because the inmates were going back to their cell and actually discussing what they had learned with their cellmates, and so people in the control group actually increased in their self-compassion through word of mouth, which I think is very interesting and very powerful as well. So I think sharing it and having with compassion focused therapy and the imagery method as well, it's quite it's very personal and it's in your mind's eye, so sometimes it's difficult to share, and I think it's really nice to sort of broaden out our discussions about suffering and the things that we're kind of struggling with, so that it can help other people. So, but yeah, I also resonated quite a lot with what you were saying, Liz, so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Hmm. And I can see as well some Julie put the question here over the chat window. So about comparing using this technology and your experiences using avatars as opposed to using the example of a sand tray.
Shall I answer that, or?
Uh, so it
Yeah, that
was
would be good.
great.
So I think there is certainly with ProReal, it's been compared to sand tray therapy. I think the one benefit or several benefits of ProReal is this idea of embodiment. So you can build up an avatar and you can resonate with it at a neural level because of the movement and the self-identification that you have with it. So I think that's slightly missing from my very small understanding of sand tray therapy. And I think what's really important as well in the virtual reality, which I picked on, is this idea about perspective taking and really looking through the eyes of the avatar, and that's a point that's missing in the sand tray therapy as well. Does that answer your question?
I think
So
something else we can do is to save this, so we can go back to it. So that bit about individual going away and reflecting on it, I don't think that's, although you can take photographs of sand tray, it's very difficult to save it and take it away with you.
Yeah. I'm reflecting as well now that after that webinar, it may come up some questions as well, as you will be reflecting this work and this time with us today. So if some questions arise, so please write them down in an email to bookings@prorealco.uk, and we'll be happy to answer all the questions afterwards as well. Wow. So I think that's 4 minutes for the closing today. Let me share my webcam with you. I would be really happy if we could run this poll again at the end of this webinar, and just following the Eileen request about it, how it may change. So if you can spend a couple of seconds for this, so I will start again the first one. So please vote.
Mikhail, if you can hear me,
Yes, I can hear you.
I can't. I've lost all the seminar things on my screen. I've no idea how to get it back, so I can't answer the poll. Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
I don't want to change anything because I've still got audio connection, but I can't do anything else.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so 2 seconds. Okay, and let's see the results. And they are quite similar, those results, and I'm happy to share with you the results after the webinar as well. So let's have like 15 seconds on the second one. It's 5 seconds. That's really interesting. So I will share the results right now. And there are some differences here comparing to the previous one. There's more of this votes of the 3. And the last one, please. Okay. So 3, 2, 1, and stop. So let's see those. So some changes here as well. So Great. So happy to share them, all the results comparing before and after with you. Thank you. So thank you very much for attending this webinar today, and thank you for all your questions. And if some of the questions will come, we'll be happy to answer them after the webinar as well. Thank you, Caroline, for you being the host today and taking us to that journey of through compassion and
You're most
virtual
welcome.
reality. Liz, thank you very much for being a client today for us, and for you, David, for your facilitation.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So when we leave the webinar now, you will be asked for the feedback about this event. So it is very important for us as we are starting to provide more webinars of that kinds for you. So happy to hear your evaluation for this. And there will be some materials as well about the compassion in the following up mail for you. So this will come shortly after the webinar. So thank you very much for today.
Thank you, Mikhail.
Thanks, Mikhail.
Thanks, Miguel. Thanks, everyone.
I'm muted.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. That was great. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.